Welcome to the Soul Awakening Academy podcast series. I'm your host, Anne-Marie Meyers, and founder of Soul Awakening Academy. The stories you'll hear are from our master spiritual life coaches and energy healers, women who have gone to the brink of burnout and found the spark within themselves to turn their pain into their greatest purpose. So sit back, relax, maybe grab a pen and a piece of paper as we share their vulnerable stories of adversity to strength, and maybe you'll take some practical skills and strategies you can implement in your life now. And for a thank you, if you want to tap into your unique spiritual purpose, join the 3-part masterclass series below and let me help you find your level of greatness. Okay, so welcome, Bex. It's so lovely to have you. We have so many amazing, inspirational students like yourself who've gone on to creating successful businesses. So it's really to get you to share your story about how you've ended up here, like what has been a bit of a pivotal turning point in your life and your career that's led you down this kind of spiritual path where you want to help and guide others. So we'll talk about your story, we'll talk about the impact that you're making with the clients, etc. And we're just going to let this conversation naturally unfold, understanding the theme that it's for women who are maybe sitting there feeling like they have a calling, they have a purpose, but for some reason they're holding themselves back, or they're procrastinating, or they have an inner critic or saboteur that you can maybe shed some wisdom on and to help them just take some next steps, whatever that might look like for you and for them. But let me share a little bit about yourself, Bex, and the theme that you've chosen and what you're now doing. So your full title for now, because you recently just got engaged, is Rebecca Chappell, and your theme is Wisdom to Wealth, which I absolutely love. So Bex, as we know her at the Soul Awakening Academy, she says she takes a holistic approach to coaching, integrating spiritual principles, energetic frequencies, and mindset tools. Bex says she's devoted to helping clients cultivate and embody their feminine leadership through the practice of personal power and living intuitively. She works with her clients to define their version of success so they can manifest a life that's filled with joy, abundance, and meaning. I love that, Bex. That's really, really powerful, especially like the feminine leadership and the intuition. Just maybe share a little bit about how that's helped you, or how that's even kind of made itself known in your energy and in your work.
Yeah, sure. So first of all, thank you for having me. Very excited. So the intuition piece for me kind of comes in when I think about what sort of the pivotal moment for me that led me towards coaching and making a change towards something that really fulfills me, is really when I became a mother. And I feel like so many women who, when they become mothers, like this new chapter of their life begins and they feel like they've kind of been reborn. And it's like, you can't really know that or feel that until you go through that. But it's also the same with so many other life changes, big life changes. You don't have to be a mother to have this kind of pivotal moment. But for me, that's what it was. And I used to work in corporate, had a great job, absolutely loved it. Like it was everything to me, like it really was. And I was successful. I worked my way up the ladder. So it was great. However, once I became a mother, I was on maternity leave, and the idea of kind of going back to that world, not so much just that world, but the world of old me, and work, and having to pretend to be the version of me before I was a mother, that didn't really resonate with me anymore. It didn't really fill me with joy. And the reason I loved my job was because I loved my job, and like I loved who I was, and I loved all these things about it. And I just wasn't getting that feeling anymore. And so I felt very out of alignment with that. And that scared me a bit, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, so that was like, okay, right, so let's just think about it that way. But then I started to lean this feeling of, okay, so this doesn't feel right, and all these things. That's kind of how my journey was going. And then all of a sudden, this out of nowhere, this opportunity arose to not go back to the corporate world, to be
Wow.
paid to not go back to the corporate world. And that was all of a sudden an option for me. I was like, okay, that feels crazy that I'm being given this option. Or I could have gone, I could have pushed for another role, and I could have remained in the safety of my corporate life, stayed in my comfort zones, stayed with the safety of a monthly paycheck, which, brings us all comfort.
Yeah.
But I really followed, like in that moment, I remember being on the phone and my gut was just like, no, do not follow that path. For you, that is no longer for you. Like there's something
Mm.
else waiting for you on the other side. And it felt really, really powerful, to be honest. And
Wow.
so it was probably like, it's through this time, through this becoming a mother, that I've like really tapped into my intuition, to like really connect into my higher self through different practices. And it was that intuitive feeling, and I just followed it. I just followed it. I just knew that it was the right thing to do. So I followed it. I didn't look back. And I know for absolute certain that it was the right thing to do. So it was a huge moment just in my life, I think, of knowing that this intuition, these intuitive nudges that I literally feel in my belly, I feel them in my body, as we all do, was guided me to the right destination. Like not even destination, but to the right path to follow that journey. So yeah.
Yeah. And I think you trained with us while you were pregnant, or had you just had your little girl?
I had not long had her.
No,
So oh god, I
you've not
forgot.
long had her. Yeah.
Yeah, no, she had just turned one. She had just turned one. So
Right.
yeah, it was quite, so this all happened, yeah, the opportunity arose just before I was due to go back from maternity leave, which is
Wow.
why it was all building and building inside me. And I was just going to go back and everything like that, but then the universe had different plans for me. So
It's so interesting, and it really resonates with me because I've had two children, so two major turning. They've been a catalyst for really major breakthroughs in my life. What is it, do you think, about motherhood that changes the shape of our destiny? Not for everybody, but maybe if we are on the wrong path, kind of we've, created this identity that somehow doesn't fit us anymore. What do you think is the meaning behind it?
so I guess if I just speak from personal experience, for me, having my daughter India, she was just like this mirror of everything. Just like highlights all of these things that are going on internally, the way I sort of react to the world, the way I react rather than respond to maybe situations, to emotions, the way my priorities change, my values changed. And like getting really clear on my values is something that's really helped me regain balance in my life, like over the last 2 years. And I just think prior to her, I didn't really place much value on my values. I was just like very,
Of
gung
course.
ho, do whatever comes up, impulsive. And don't get me wrong, I can still be impulsive, but it still is very intuitively led. So,
Mhm.
whereas before it was really, I lived in my masculine energy a lot prior to having my daughter. And I think having India awoke my feminine energy, if I really think about it. It pushed it just like to the surface, and it was just like, come on and let me out. Stop always feeling the need, because the looking after of India is very like the masculine, the very do. But then when I was to sit back and just be in the quiet times with India, when she was just asleep on me, you've got lots of reflection time. And as much as you wouldn't think you have that as a new mum, because it all feels a bit chaotic, but you do have a lot of time of just laying there with them asleep on you, and you have a lot of thinking time about, oh God, I just don't want this to end. why would I ever, what did I ever think was important before this? This is everything. Like, you know, and so now all of a sudden, where my world revolved completely around myself prior, now it doesn't. And now it revolves completely around this little being that's laying on my chest.
Yeah, exactly. And it reminds me of a conversation, an interview I had this week with one of our graduates, an inspiring healer, Jo, who works a lot with the sacral. So she does womb healing.
Mm,
And we were about that sacral energy and the energy of fertility and creativity really being the manifesting power for a woman and for a man, you know, in the hara and in the woman. Just whether you've had children or not, you still have an area of fertility, and that can be fertile ground for your goals, your dreams, be them material or spiritual or emotional, whatever. But that is the sacred, it's like kind of like the Holy Grail, really, the vessel. I see it as the vessel of creation, where we can really tune in and start to manifest and materialize the things that we want. But quite often I feel when we're not in the feminine energy, we're not actually really listening to what it is that we truly desire. Because, like, as you say, we are in a masculine mode, which when I think of my masculine energy, which I'll be honest, I can be in a lot of the time, because, you know, I'm a business owner and that's just really kind of how I operate a little bit. But when I'm in the feminine, it's a different space that I'm tuning into and kind of producing from. It's more of a centered space, it's more grounded, it's peaceful. When it's masculine, it feels more physical, the energy is more chaotic, it's heady. Do you
Yeah.
resonate with that at all?
Completely, absolutely, yeah. And that's exactly, I guess, what I was probably trying to articulate in, like, prior to India. I was very in my head, like very in my head, just do, achieve, do this, do that, you know, and then this means this equals this equals this. And there was no kind of, yeah, feeling into things. I'm sure it was there, but it just wasn't fully present within me, like, definitely not. And then having India, like, all of a sudden there's just so much more to consider, and there's just so much more. I mean, I think what you just said was just, yeah, really beautiful. And it is like the creation of life, isn't it? And all of a sudden you feel this, like, you feel that on you, don't you? And you're like, oh gosh, I've got like a little being here that I really need to be like my best self for. I need to show up as like someone, not someone else, because, you know, we're all perfect, like exactly as we are. But it's like, you want to just have your best, you know, you want to be expanding yourself, learning more, doing more, and just, I want to be a great role model for my daughter. I want to be, you know, modeling behavior that really allows her to grow up with the belief that she can be and do anything. And I just, like,
Yeah.
I deeply desire that for her. Like, and I almost feel that I am here to do that for her. Like, that's why I'm
Well,
here.
yeah,
Yeah.
you are, you know. And
Yeah.
something was just landing with me then, around kind of model, who do we want to be a model for? Who do we want to, who what generation, you know, what is important to us that people may aspire to follow in our footsteps, especially with the theme of International Women's Day. And, you know, there'll be women listening and they're not pregnant, they might not want children, they have no, you know, no ideals of having a baby, or some who just can't get pregnant. But I think you're giving birth to creations all of the time. Like, my business is my baby. The ideas that I give birth to are my babies. You know, all the courses that I create, all the ideas that I have, they have been born within me. I have provided the fertile soil for them to then be created and manifested, blending both the masculine and the feminine into physical form for other people to benefit from. So if somebody sat listening, well, you know, I can't, I don't want, or I can't, that's not to say that this is not for you or this shouldn't resonate with you, because it really, really should. We all still have masculine energy and feminine energy that gives birth to something. So whether it's an idea or a goal, you have to provide the same space for things to be materialized from the spiritual into the physical.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So when you picked your theme, Wisdom to Wealth, which is like one of my favorite themes, what did it mean to you? Why did you choose it? And how is it kind of manifesting out for you now?
So wisdom to wealth to me, I thought about it for a while. And I think for me, it doesn't necessarily speak to monetary values or monetary terms. It really speaks to the from wisdom to wealth, but like in terms of the journey that you go through, in terms of like your full embodiment, your full expansion, of the woman that you're becoming, your future self that you're stepping into. And for me, that's how it kind of gripped me. That's how it kind of like got me. And I was like, no, that like I resonate with that. It just like rings true that we're all full of wisdom, in our different ways. We've all had our journeys. We've all come from, and it, speaking to the point of whether you have or you don't have children, 100%. Like it doesn't, that's just my journey. That doesn't make anyone else wrong or right or anything. That's just my way into it. But it's like we've all got wisdom to call upon from our different walks of life. And it's just how you choose to take that forward with you. Like what lights your soul on fire? What do you want to be doing? What does that wisdom to wealth mean to you? Yeah, monetary value, great. We all will have a greater impact if we're being paid for what we're doing, of course. But when I just think of the theme, for me, it's just the wealth of life, of the wealth of like what you can gain from everything around you, if we choose to dig a bit deeper, uncut, actually create some self-awareness within ourselves, and just not always live at surface level, and just allow that journey to go forward.
I hear that, and it landed me so much because quite often we don't like to share our stories about the challenges that we've had, or the shit things that have happened that have given us our breaking points. So I've had many breaking points, but like the biggest has been the birth of my first son. That's catapulted me into postnatal depression, where all my childhood trauma came back badly, bit of PTSD, like it's just awful. But that was the biggest breaking point, on top of all the other shit that had happened over the past. That was the breaking point. But for me to kind of in the past, to try and talk about my past was very shameful. A sense of embarrassment, a sense of shame, this overriding fear of vulnerability spreading all over me, face going bright red, my voice would start to break up, and I was just like so embarrassed. And actually would have out-of-body experiences when I was telling my story, thinking, is this even me? Can't believe this is me sharing this story. This just doesn't feel like it's me. So quite often, but now that's my wealth, right? So that wisdom, the hero's journey that we take, that you took, heeding the call, going on the adventure, slaying the dragons, reaching the golden elixir, the treasure that lies at the end, which is now you running your business, living life on your terms. Quite often, women, we don't step into that role, which in itself is creative. In itself, it's like, okay, I've got this welling inside of me, this creative force inside of me that wants to do something. But quite often as women, we sit back because we've been fed messages, like, and we all have different environments that we live in and the belief systems that will have spread down. What would you say, given your own experiences of having corporate, of then stepping into femininity, of then now kind of going on the hero's journey, creating the life that you want? What would you say if someone was listening and go, oh, that sounds like me? in a corporate job, I don't want to go back tomorrow, but I'm a bit scared. What would you say to those women who are listening?
I would say that, again, for me, it really comes back to being intuitively led. Being intuitively led and stepping into your personal power so that you can make decisions based off of how you feel internally rather than the external circumstances, conditioning, beliefs that probably aren't yours, that are holding you where you are. Because so many of us are doing this job, whatever job, I'll say a 9 to 5, but nothing against 9 to 5s, right? Like, it's not about that. I'm just, as an example.
It's not 9 till 5. It's 9 till 9,
Yeah, I was going to say, all day when you choose this. So I think sometimes we step into this thinking, oh, just, want a bit more. And I'm like, yeah, the brain never actually turns off. So it sounds like 9 till 5, like, I welcome it. No, but, I just don't want to people to take offense, like I'm just generalizing. But it's like we do this job because we feel that, this is what we have to do. Well, we think it's what we want, but have we ever actually sat down and questioned, why do we want it? Do we actually, do we want it? Or does my dad want it for me? Do I want it? Or, have I made my partner proud by getting this job and now I don't want to give it up and go into a different career, but isn't as safe and actually creates lots of uncertainty in our lives and all of those things. So it's like, my advice would be to really sit with yourself and actually gain some self-awareness as to why are you doing something? Because perhaps you love your job and perhaps there's just a few little things that actually, it's not actually nothing to do with your job that's the reason you're maybe, quote unquote unhappy. There's another part of your life and your job's great. Or it might be that you've realized that you are doing it for the wrong reasons and you're not feeling fulfilled. It doesn't light you up. You don't wake up in the morning and think, oh, can't wait for today, ever. Like, that never comes. It comes to you. So my advice would definitely be to just understand, gain some self-awareness around what you want, not what you think you want or what you should want, but what you actually want. And that can really take some time. Like, you don't necessarily come to that answer overnight. Sometimes it takes a bit of digging, a bit, and actually understanding what creates joy inside and what ignites a little fire in your belly. Like, what is it? Like, where do you see yourself in 12 months' time? Where do you see yourself in 5 years' time? And then once you've got some clarity around that, you can actually start to build a plan as to how you're going to get yourself there. But you need the clarity and you need the understanding, but it needs to be coming from within you, which is where your personal power lies, not from the outside circumstances of the conditioning, the beliefs, of everyone else around you who are just pushing their ideas onto you. So it's really just about spending some time with you. And I think we don't always do that. And I know, again, I can only speak from personal experience, but that for me is something that when I sort of went into my 30s and then I had a child and I then started to focus a bit more on me, but up until that point, it was just a bit like crazy, chaotic, having fun, living in the moment, not really thinking too deeply about long-term happiness. And it was much more about the sort of short term, how can I just get a sort of a quick fix of happiness? Like, I loved it in the moment, but now that I'm just gaining, that I'm starting to think a little bit further ahead, I can see that understanding myself and just getting to know myself a bit better is where the wealth is.
Oh, 100%. And that landed with me so much because the wealth, there's so much in what you've just said there. The wealth, I mean, it's not just money. That's just one part of an energy exchange we have with the world, the material world. But that wealth within us, that wellspring, if you like, comes from a feeling, is generated from a feeling of kind of being full, of abundance, purpose, meaning, etc. And that can be found in different avenues. But yeah, taking the wisdom and turning it into something meaningful, basically. And also when you said about getting clarity on what you
Mm,
want, and stopping and asking yourself in the stillness, like, whose voice is in my head driving me? Because my God, if you think about it, like from such a young age, like I do actually say to my daughter, I'm going to change it. Only in joking because she's only 8, but this is how young it starts.
mm.
What do you want to What do
Yeah.
you want to do?
Hmm.
Not who do you want to become, or who are you becoming? You know, if I was to ask my 19-year-old son now who's in university, you know, if you say to someone, what do you want to do? What do you want to do with the rest of your
Mm.
life? Like massive
I-
commitment. I don't know. I don't even
Yeah.
know what's out there yet. But if you were
Hmm.
to say to someone, this way your values come in. If I was to say to my son, and you know what, I'm going to do it. I am going to ask him this. I'm going to say, who are you becoming?
Mm.
What a different
Absolutely.
question.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it doesn't that help you align to your true self and to your values? Who are you becoming?
Hmm.
That in
Yeah.
itself is a question that I like. It's either going to stop you in your tracks and go, oh my God, if I go that way, this is who I'm going to become.
Yeah.
And do I like it? But often we're like, and I've met so many people along the way who have been forced into a career by their family that they never ever wanted. And they
Yeah.
have spent so much of their life training to be lawyers, a psychologist, doctors, and it takes so much dedication, and they've all had burnout
Yeah.
and had a career change. They've got to break, and
Mm.
you just cannot handle living a life that's not true to you. It crashes down, doesn't it? It did to me. Crashes. I
Absolutely.
mean, that experience, but you've had a turning point. But for often it can cause people to
Mm.
completely crash down. So your point about the values and assessing your values
Yeah.
is so important. I take it you're
Mm.
doing that now with your coaching clients.
Yeah. So with the values piece, I find it like, again, I'll always speak from personal experience because that's all I can really, that's where I like to kind of coach from. But it's like, for me, if I'm feeling out of alignment in life, I know, again, I never used to really understand what my values was. I didn't really, they weren't in my conscious awareness at all. Whereas now I have a really good understanding of like what brings me joy. And if I'm feeling out of alignment, I can kind of sit back and quite quickly tap into that feeling of, well, I know I haven't really, I've been working too much. I haven't seen my family enough. I maybe haven't seen my mum, or I haven't spoken to my dad, or I just really need a little sense of adventure. Why don't we book a trip? All these kind of things. And it can, whatever it may be to you, but for me, I find it a great way to just like tap into that. Um,
Mhm.
but you need to have that awareness around what is it that actually, and again, exactly what you said about, I love that question of who are you becoming. So if you want to look at who are you becoming, well, what are the values of that person who you are becoming, so that we can then start to tap into, well, how do we embody that person you want to become? Well, how can we start living by their values now? So someone who maybe wants to do the change of career, wants to make any, whatever it is, a change in life, and they're looking at themselves and thinking, in 12 months' time, I really want to be doing this. Well, what's different about that person in 12 months' time than the you of today? What do they value? What do they believe in? What's important to them?
Mhm.
And then how can you now
Yeah.
like look at this of you, the you of today, and say, right, okay, well, I know who I need to become that person, and how I can start to
Yeah.
embody that woman and like feel her energy, because energetically, like, it's exhausting being, like, as you quite rightly just said, doing something that you don't actually feel passionate about. It's exhausting. You're not really showing up as your
Mhm.
true self. It's like exhausting because there's so much energy goes into not being authentic, and we don't realize that. But then we wonder why we've got burnout. We wonder why we're tired all the time. Like, oh, but I'm healthy, I go to the gym, I eat well. Yeah, but energetically, you're not doing what your soul really wants you to do. And so you're finding yourself being constantly like pulled in other directions, and that's exhausting.
It is. And again, you know, when you're saying that and I'm thinking about burnout, I'm thinking it's because people aren't living their values. So the values are the
Mm.
emotional drivers that give you energy to head to do certain things. So
Mm.
if you're not in alignment with your top couple of values, you're absolutely going to be on the floor, because like you say, it takes so much energy to keep doing the thing that is suppressing you. Like, you need
Mm.
energy for life and motivation, to feel good, for wellness. And if you're like getting up and doing something that goes against your values day after day, year after year, eventually it's going to catch up with you. And normally when people have like these momentous breaking points, these breakthroughs, they are reassessing. They're going, oh my God, they get to a point of complete surrender where they're like, what do I want?
Mm.
What do I want? And they can sit in that space eventually, because maybe unfortunately, if they've got themselves to that point, they have no other option but to sit with themselves or lie in a bed and just ponder life. And that's when they can really have the space to go, oh, what do I want? You know what I mean? That's when the question is, who do I want to become? And the values that are embodied with that. So for me, like, my values are freedom,
Mm.
fun.
Mm.
I've got to have those in my
Mm.
career and in my life. So and I hate labels. Someone says to me, what do you do? Or the thought of me doing the same thing every day, whether
Mhm.
it's for a boss or in my business, absolutely kills my creativity and inspiration. So I
Mm.
have to realize that I'm not somebody who can put a label on myself and show up that way every day, but the values
Mhm.
that are with the person I have become spread through everything that I do, whether I'm being creative, whether I'm being fun, whether
Yeah.
I'm being inspired by someone. The energy of who I am filters through all of those things. So people might not know what values are. Well, values are not going to say lawyer, doctor, dentist. They're going to
Mm.
give you values driven behavior, which are things like you said: adventure,
Mm.
honesty, integrity, creativity, freedom. The kind of like
Yeah.
intrinsic drivers that forces, well, that motivates us to do a certain thing. So what would you say? Because I know you're new, you trained to be our master spiritual life coach and energy psychologist, and you've done really well. Like I was saying, I was inspired by you because you hit the ground running.
Mm.
Like a lot of coaches, they're like, oh, I'm so scared to do this. I'm scared to get on social media. And it takes them, they go through a whole transition, like personally, before they can really start to push out what they're doing. But
Mhm.
now I see you on social media and I love your posts, I love your graphics, I love everything that you're doing. So
Mm.
tell us, like, how have you got to where you are? Like, what kind of pushed you forward and gave you the confidence to just do it?
So I think if I think about, I've still got a way to go. Just, that's my little
Oh,
limiting
so
belief
high.
there. Just getting that limiting belief out there, just so everyone's aware. Um, so what pushes me forward is in my work. What really pushes me forward is I just have like this burning desire to just work with women who just who I just know have just got so much hidden potential, so much kind of hidden happiness almost that's underneath these layers, who are just busy, just going through the day-to-day life, who are perhaps looking, in their careers, who are, as we just exactly what we said, so, just going through the motions because they feel that's what they need to be doing, or they really got this desire to start up this business, but they don't know how to balance life and work and exhaustion and all these things, and just to look at life more holistically from every angle. I just have this burning, like literally it's just in me, and I just want to get my hands on women, so like in the right way, I just want to work with
Yes.
them. And so
Yeah.
it drives me forward. It just pushes me forward every day, because I just feel so good about it. Like there's a real passion in my belly that this is exactly what I should be doing. And once I established that, once I started
Yeah.
doing this, like the training with a Soul Awakening Academy, I like literally from the first training day that I did, the first day that I sat in front of my laptop, got stuck into calls, I was like, oh my God, can I see clients tomorrow? Like I was buzzing. I was just like, and I just knew this energy just was like, oh gosh, this is where I am, exactly where I need to be. And I knew that. So in terms of then the business side of things, I was trying to build up my like business, like the sort of Instagram side of the social media side of things, which honestly is like, it's tricky. It's hard if you've never done that before.
Yeah.
And I am learning something new
Yeah.
every single day. Like it's not, it doesn't necessarily come like really easy to me. So it was something I've had to like really put through. It isn't something that I've just sort of picked up. So, but the way I did that was just by putting my message out there of everything that I believed in, everything I felt passionate about, and just being authentic, really. Just being
Yeah,
myself
yeah, it's
through the
authentic. Yeah,
content. Mm,
I love that because it is authenticity. So when anybody says to me, "Oh, how do I start the business?" Well,
mm,
oh my God, we think about it so like huge. We think about the grand scale of a
mm,
business instantly. We don't think about, well, where am I now,
yeah.
and how can I just start? And it's as simple as you tell people what you're doing, and sometimes that can be the hardest thing. But
Mm,
how can anybody want to work with you if you keep it a secret and to yourself? So starting to share and be authentic and share your wins, share your
mm,
challenges, and share your breakthroughs as well, and share your clients' wins as well as
mm,
testimonial and feedback. And that's just the way you start. It's like step by step by step by step. And then eventually you get to the place where you feel like you've nailed it. And I love the fact that you say, because I felt this way um about, and that it's what sparked me to want to do what I did do now. I didn't know it was going to transpire into this at all, but the thing where I sat on the end of the bed and I was like, flipping hell,
mm,
what do I do with my life? And it was, I want to help people see their potential.
yeah.
So it was similar to your story. Like for me, mine was like, some people think that they're broken, they're damaged goods because of the trauma that they've experienced. And I really want to tell people that you're not damaged and broken. You have so much hidden potential, and help them draw it out. And I think sometimes as healers and coaches, we have the clients that kind of match where we've been and
Mm-hmm.
what we're growing through ourselves.
Mm,
So it's like, having that is, for me, it's like coming to my mind, like that's because Bex is reaching her potential.
mm,
And that's why she's wanting to guide others along the path. So your potential is blossoming and unfolding because you're living it, and you're like, wow, I'm going to
mm.
share this. Like, does that resonate with you?
Definitely. And I totally agree. I believe that everything we're going through as human beings is like for a reason, because we're going to transcend that, so that when, as you so like rightly said, I think that then we will then attract those clients into us because they are looking, they're seeing themselves in us, and they want to go on the journey we've been on. So
Yeah.
I totally agree with that. Yeah, I think that's,
Uh,
and I think that's what's so beautiful about it all, actually. I just feel that in my body, and I love that.
What just the last question, but what impact do you feel training with the Soul Awakenings Academy has had on you and in your business going forward?
Mm. So I love the course I did, was that, if you said it, you said what I did. I did the
Master Spiritual Life Coach and Energy Psychology Diploma. It's a mouthful, isn't it?
yeah. I was
It
like,
is.
oh gosh, it's gone. I can't remember what it's called. I know what it is. But so I went through that journey, and the brilliant thing about going through that journey was I transcended so many unconscious beliefs that I clearly needed to go through. I did lots of deep inner work, and then that was like the catalyst to me then going on to do more deep work on myself, which, again, to my point previously, I'm going through this because I know that it's the wisdom and everything that I'm going to share with my clients. And I truly believe, and that's what's great about it, because it takes you through that journey personally.
Yeah.
And you need to do that, because I think we can come at things from like a textbook approach, and feel that we know it, but, or not even feel that we know it, think we know it, but until we feel it really hard to take a client through that journey with you. And that's what is great about the course. And obviously you working with you has been fantastic. And you know,
Thank
so,
you.
and having your support throughout it all, and even just now having these conversations with you right now feels really surreal.
Yeah.
Because obviously just like I feel like, oh, I'm
Um,
talking to you on a completely different level now. And I think when I think back
yeah.
to me at the beginning, like what a different person. So how much I've grown because of Soul Awakening Academy is huge, and I'm really grateful for the support that you provide, for the course, for like all of the content. It's really like thorough, it's really supportive, well thought out, and it really gave me one of the key things I was personally looking for when I was looking for my for the course I wanted to do to become certified. I really wanted something that was going to provide me with like hands-on coaching skills, but also I knew I didn't want to go and do something that was quite dry. I wanted the spiritual
Yeah.
element to it as well, and because that's how I think, that's how I live my life, and so I really wanted that for my clients, and that gave me it just ticked all my boxes. It really gave me that, like it really went in heavy with the coaching skills. And because the last thing I wanted was to come out of this and be like, great, I've just enhanced my spiritual skills and all things like that, because I can do that anywhere really if I want to, but I wanted to
Yeah.
combine it and learn it, you know, together. And
Like
it did that for me.
practical.
Yeah, it did that for me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's what I would say is if someone's looking for that and they feel that they want to be that type of coach, then this course definitely gives that to them.
Yeah, I think it's important because I've done many, many courses on many different things and always
Mm,
felt like, God, what's next after this? And I was like, don't want anybody to really feel that way when
mm,
they've taken a course with me. I want them to have everything, all of the tools. I mean, I never can't give everybody everything because I mean, I'm still learning as well as I go, you know, there's always more to learn. But something that they feel I'm confident, you know, just need to practice it and I'm going to be confident, but I feel I've got enough to really like go deep with people. And I love like I loved watching your coaching sessions as well.
mm,
And I loved like seeing you have these little breakthroughs as you were developing your coaching skill and we were having conversations and you were getting insights about yourself and about your coaching style as well and the coach that you wanted to blossom into as well. You know, we talk about who are you becoming. You know,
mm,
that was very much part of like, who do you want to be as a coach? You know, what qualities do you want to embody? Because I think at some point in my life, I saw counseling at different types, but one woman made me feel so seen
mm,
and safe and heard. And I thought that is what I want to give to other people. And I thought, okay, that's important to me. That's you know a value that I hold dear is to hold that space with somebody. So you know, thinking about that as well. And we change, we pivot. You know, we put different hats on when we go into different arenas and different problems that we're helping clients with. But yeah, it was lovely watching you really grow,
mm. Yeah, thank
coach
you.
and personally. Yeah.
Yeah.
Final question, I promise. But what do you want your legacy to be if you were to become a millionaire, billionaire overnight and you didn't
Mm,
need to work anymore? What would you still have the energy to get up and do or inspire or change in the world?
mm. Good question. So when the money doesn't matter and I'm just, you know, still doing what I want to do, what I will still be doing is teaching, sharing this wisdom, sharing this, you know, wisdom of like self-awareness and just the energetics and like all of the universal guidance that's out there, and living intuitively and just all of this stuff that I just feel like as an adult I've learned, but because I've seeked it out, not because somebody's sort of come to me with it. I want to be sharing this with children, young people. Like, I really like kind of have a dream of setting up some kind of school, some kind of practice in that sense, that it's where, you know, potentially like-minded parents will be bringing their children and bringing young adults into this place so that we can create a community, we can share wisdom, share knowledge, and give them like such an amazing start in life that they don't feel that they have to go through all of this that I've gone through, and a lot of us have gone through, you've gone through. We don't necessarily have, I mean, I'm not suggesting we take away pain and things like that, but it's just knowing, having this knowingness of what is possible, what's achievable, what's, you know, if we just allow things to be, and we allow to trust, and we allow to feel. And for me, it's just, I just wish we had access to that when we were younger, really. I just think, how different could my life be if I had access to this, if I knew all of this when I was younger? And I definitely intend on bringing my daughter up that way. And just, again, like I said at the beginning, just like, I just want her to grow up with this like deep knowing that anything's achievable, anything she can be and do whatever she wants that makes her happy, because it makes her happy, not because it makes me happy, but because it makes her happy. And I just want more young people to have that feeling. So yeah, so to answer, kind of, you know, summarize that, when the money doesn't matter, I still see myself doing that and sharing that knowledge and sharing that wisdom and being that guide for people. That's what I want.
Yeah, and it could be that you tap into to the mums and help the mums think a different way, which has a ripple effect onto their kids. And you know, generationally, you know, we were brought up with a certain generation of parents who'd had a generation of parenting, and now the generation that are coming through, they're going to be parented so different because there are more conscious parents out there now. And the skill that you have and that you can impart is the way to ask different questions. You know, as we were kind of asked questions and you know, parented, we can ask the questions in a way that are open and thought-provoking and reflective, and offer inner inquiry to our children, rather than closed, shut down questions. This is the way we do things here, and this is the way we think. And you've got black or white way of thinking, you know, so be that you kind of open up an arena there to help the mums to help their kids. What a beautiful conversation we've had.
Yeah, thank you. I've loved it. It's been very insightful.
It's been so inspiring. Thank you, Bex. And like, one of the students that I look at and go, wow, she has cracked it. You know, like, you just springboard off like it was water off a duck's back, and now you just do it. And you're out there doing it. Do you know what I mean? You're living proof that you can have the confidence, the belief in yourself, and just do it. So you're living proof. Inspirational woman in business to me. So thank you so much for sharing this time with me, Bex.
Thank you.
Take care. I'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Bye, man. Bye.